Hello everyone, this is Ketish here. In this video, I'm going to go through the AQA Triple Science GCSE Biology Paper to higher tier from 2024. Question number 9, which is the last question, is on the topic of inheritance, variation, and evolution. Glyphosate is a herbicide used in agriculture. Soybean plants have been genetically modified, or GM plant, to be resistant to glyphosate. A farmer can increase the yield. Now, increasing the yield means producing more of the soybeans by growing GM soybean plants. Now, remember, GM soybean plants is resistant to glyphosate. If it's a herbicide, that means it kills weeds. It won't kill the soybean plants. Right? Spraying glyphosate. So, growing GM genetically modified soybean plants and spraying glyphosate on the field. Now, spraying glyphosate will actually kill off the rest of the weeds. It won't kill off this soybean plants. The normal soybean plants might actually be killed. That's why you need to use GM soybean plants. Right. Let's have a look at the question. Explain how the use of GM soybean plants and glyphosate can increase the yield of soybean plants. Right. So let's start off by saying glyphosate kills weeds but does not harm GM soya. Right? How does that help the GM soya? So there would be less competition for light, space, water, and nitrates and magnesium ions. Right? Nitrates and magnesium are the two main things that plants actually use. Right? So how does this help? Right? More light and water means more photosynthesis in GM plants. So more glucose is produced. Right? More glucose means more energy released by respiration, which can be used for cellular processes. Right? More glucose also means more cellulose for cell walls. Right? More starch, which is a storage, right? Stored in soybeans, right? This also means more protein for cell structure, and also means more lipids for cell membrane structure as well, but also more lipids for energy storage. And glucose is needed for all of this. They're actually testing the use of glucose in here. Right? Now, more magnesium is used to make more chlorophyll. Remember, in humans, we need iron for red blood cells. Plants need magnesium to produce chlorophyll for photosynthesis. Okay. More nitrates to make more proteins or amino acids. Right? And I forgot one thing to mention here. Let's go back a little bit. And phosphates as well. Right? Plants need, if you remember the fertilizers, P, N, K. P stands for phosphates, N for nitrates, and K for potassium. Right? So more phosphates for DNA, to produce more DNA. Right? Right. What does this all mean? Right? This increase helps to increase the yield of soya beans. Last question of this paper. Suggest 2 reasons why some people are concerned about the use of GM soybean plants. Do not refer to ethical concerns or religion in your answer. Now, if this question was to do with anything to do with human genetic modification, then you could. That's why they're asking you not to refer to ethical concerns or religion. Right? Now, 2 reasons why some people are concerned about the use of GM. The main reason is we do not know the effects of GM products on animals or humans. Why? Because we haven't had them for a long time to see anything. Right? Now, could also mean if we are more genetically modifying things, right, the gene could be transferred to wild plants. What if after using it for a few years that this gene for glyphosate resistance is actually transferred to the weeds? That means the weeds will not die in the future, which means there's no point in using glyphosate. right? There are other couple of reasons that I'm not going to write, but I will explain them. Using genetically modified plants could reduce biodiversity because we are trying to actually just grow one type of plant. There's an increased cost to the seeds because you have to buy them from the GM company. You can't regrow the seeds, right? And you could if you want to, but the companies actually prevent farmers from growing these seeds. They actually monopolize the industry. That's an ethical reason. And it might affect the flavor, right, or the taste of the product, or it could affect other things like storage and whatever. So any of those will be acceptable answers. That brings us to the end of question number 9, and I will see you in the next paper. Thanks for watching.